Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. I'm your host, DJ Alessandrini, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tom O'Gorman. Tom, how are we doing?
Solid. Solid. How are you?
A little tired today. I think I stayed up too late last night. Tom, I have been... There's a certain way my brain works, and it can't let things go. And right now,
Okay.
I'm in a desperate search for a new vehicle that is not my truck. And I feel like I'm like deciding my like future path in life with a single vehicle purchase, and
Wait,
it's driving me insane.
I have totally been there. I know. I feel like that's the most car guy thing that there is. If there is a car
Oh
guy thing,
no.
like we talk about car guy things forever, but I feel like that obsessing over whether you're actually buying the right car and like it has all the right things, and then you find the right one, but like that one thing's just a little bit wrong with that right one. Oh, that's some car guy stuff.
Uh,
Tell me that's not.
all right. I'm not gonna go through the whole roller coaster because that might be a whole like terribly boring episode all on its own. I wanted a GR86. Okay, that's where this started. I was like, damn, I should get a GR86 because me and
Yeah.
Christine have basically been using just her car because she works on the weekends. I don't work on the weekend. We've been just purely driving her car, right? Uh, the truck would be expensive to daily drive. So we really don't drive it all that much. If I'm going away for like a weekend where I'm driving long distance, I take Christine's car. I've been basically driving Christine's car for like the last 6 months. So
I think I supplied the iPhone player for it a couple of those months.
yeah, well, we don't own any Apple products, but so she's starting a new job on August 1st. She's not going to be working weekends. We're going to be working the same time, right? So I'm like, man, I really got to find a vehicle. So it was going to be a GR86. Then I was like, maybe I'll just make it a BRZ because my favorite autocross co-driver Peter Schnorr already has a GR86. And then basically I was like, wait, what am I going to do with a BRZ? I already have cars like that to drive. That's not really adding any value. And then I was like, I should get something that's economical, which like could have been a myriad of different cars, whether it was like a Tesla or like a new Mazda 3 or old Mazda 3 or a Civic or all these different things, right? I decided on a used Mazda 3, a third gen, with a stick. I thought that'd be fun with the bigger engine. So I already found it. So I just had to wait for the truck to be sold, right? So that's what I ended up on. It was only like $18,000 or something along those lines, pending negotiations. And then Peter Schnorr threw me a curveball and he wants to sell me his SSC FRS.
Oh no, I didn't know this.
So I was decided. I had it
It-
figured out. And now, like that. So my thought was because it would be significantly cheaper than the Mazda 3. I turned the Honda Fit, even though I cut the shock towers off. I turned the Honda Fit back to stock or mostly stock. Maybe I'd leave the shock towers cut off. I don't like weld the shock towers back on. And I just like soften up the springs and make it like way more comfortable to like drive daily. And then I have the FRS as like because that would be obviously that'd be way more fun to like take on racetracks because right now that's the Honda Fit. If I'm like, oh, there's something going on in a racetrack and like there's nothing
yeah.
else I could possibly do or drive, I take the Honda Fit, which like, sorry Sunday Cup guys, but like it's not the most fun car ever on a racetrack, but it is acceptable. So I turned that back into the economy car that it is. I have the FRS that I drive.
The true time attack car that it is.
Yeah, the very fast car that it is. Some have said it's the fastest SSE car in America.
Well, I was going to share. I heard on a podcast somewhere that that's the fastest SSC car in the country. So I feel
So
like,
I could
dude, if
purchase,
he's giving it to you for like a deal,
yeah. So I could purchase the fastest SSE car in the country, but then I would still kind of need something. Uh, sorry, Zach. He said I wants to throw hands because I was dissing on Honda Fit as it's a great commuter, and I love my hybrid shifting like shifter in it. Uh, it's just it's not the greatest car to drive around, and also like I got this prototype suspension, and it has some like really bad clunks in the front. So I'll be happy to replace at least the front shocks with something that doesn't clunk really bad. Um, so that's kind of where I'm leaning. Is I'm back on the beater life. I was almost gonna have a nice car, Tom. It was gonna be reliable and like
Yeah.
trustworthy, low mileage. But you know what? Like crashed once FRS, but is fastest SSC car. Uh, Honda Fit that has 200,000 miles on it. That's almost as good, right? Who needs reliable transportation when you own tools and have a heated garage?
I kind of lost the plot there at the end, but I feel like I'm proud of your decision making. Like, so what's the goal? You want your own? What when I say I lost the plot, like, what's the goal? Do you want your own ability to go autocross whenever you want? That's what we're getting at here. Is like try
No.
to try to be able to take my car to the
Well,
track when I
I
want,
don't
be
I
able to do my
honestly
own events without
yeah,
Peter.
I honestly don't think I'll autocross the SSC car all that much. Um
So it's just a funner daily than a three.
I it's ideally, yeah, like I can drive it to and from work and not die of boredom,
Yeah.
right? Which I think the Fit's actually pretty fun to drive on the road. So like I think if I make it where it's a little bit more livable, I think it could actually fulfill that part. Um but I want to be able to go drive at like a HPDE or like a Twilight Test and Tune at Mid Ohio or something. I want to be able to just like have something to show up in. Um
Sure.
or have a reliable car. So that's like where I'm saying like it's like there's like two paths. It's like do I have a car that I can drive whenever I want, or do I like commit into the reliable transportation and like use disposable income to drive all the things everywhere all the time. So that's kind of that's where I was at. But at the moment, depends on where the breeze blows immediately in the next 30 minutes or hour or whenever the breeze comes by. But
Wait,
that's where I'm currently sitting is FRS and Honda Fit turned comfortable.
dude, are we buying a car on this podcast right now? Is that what this episode is? We're buying DJ a car?
No, I got hey,
Because
look.
you said in the next 30 minutes.
No, no, no,
If we
no.
gotta buy
Well, no,
you a
I'm
car in
saying
30 minutes, let's go.
I'm saying my mind can change because that's where I'm at right now.
Sure, sure,
That's what
sure,
I
sure.
don't. In the video, I might look a little tired. It's because I lost sleep over this. I'm going nuts over here, Tom. So, ah,
Are you, so tell me what you're stuck on. You're stuck on the I don't know what to buy, or you're stuck on I don't know if I should buy anything. I still don't I don't hear the problem yet.
you broke up a second. Say that again.
I said I don't hear the problem yet.
The problem is there's there's one part of me that wants the reliable, like just regular street car, and then that drives me to racetracks to drive cars that are there, that aren't mine. And another part of me is I can still do that, but still having something of my own for the like spur of the moment, like, ooh, I'm going to sign up for that HPDE or that time trial or that Twilight Test and Tune just to like have like easy access to like seat time that's not reliant on other people trusting me, essentially.
Before I ask any more questions, have you already made up your mind to buy that car?
No, it's not made up. That's what I'm saying. And like I don't know at the moment. At the moment, that's where I'm
Okay,
at.
okay. So I have more questions then.
Okay.
Do you see yourself making more time to go to additional events to what you already are going to do?
I think I would just go to different events. I'm kind
Would
of
you?
I'm
Like
kind of
if you could go to pit race and autocross with Peter or take your car to a track day for auto interests?
I'd go autocross because competition is gonna be more fun than a.
Okay, so you're not really gonna make time for different events.
Yeah, but you know
You
Mid
see what I'm
Ohio
saying?
has testing tunes like Thursday nights.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I could go do those. Just like
But will you?
because I
That's
want.
that's the
I've
assessment I'd
done
be
it
making is
I've done it in the Fit, but I just don't think the Fit's
oh,
that
okay.
much fun. So, but if it was more
Yeah.
fun in the FRS, then I think I would do it more often.
Case, more power to you.
Yeah. I think that's where I'm gonna go.
That's why I'd be like I currently drive my BRZ around all the time, and I don't have a good reason to have that car, but when I bought it, I did. So that like it makes its own point from past reasoning stuff, and it just doesn't currently fulfill that. But that's why I'm like, okay, so right now I'm not creating extra time to go to these events. I'm not really willing to work on or pull put risk on my daily driver. So I'm just gonna like drive it on the road. And if I were in that phase right now and I could pick a car, I don't think I'd pick that car. But I like that car a lot.
What would you pick just for like cuz you're just kind of a little bit of a
I don't know.
nomad right now. Like that's why we were having this conversation earlier, like something efficient and reliable is probably what makes
Yeah,
the most amount of sense for how we are participating in motorsports at this very moment.
exactly. I think I would pick something closer to my Lexus SUV where I could like sleep in it and kind of live in it a little bit more, make it a little more conducive to that. Like I used to with my Honda Pilot. I used to sleep in that like all the time. And that would make way more sense for what I do now than like having a very mildly track prepped car that I have a payment on. Like that doesn't make any sense. But I have that right now.
So I did figure out that the Mazda 3 does fold flat, but it's a, you know, compact car hatchback. I would fit in it
Sure.
being 5'7", like diagonal or my feet hanging like into the front of the car. Um, but that obviously isn't going to work for everyone, but being a small human has its advantages.
No, a race car driver sized human.
Race car driver size human has its advantages.
There you go.
Thanks, Tom. So that's DJ's inner turmoil. Um, I'm probably driving Christine crazy because I'll be like, okay, so I think I figured out what the car is, and she goes, oh, what did you figure out now? Like just because I've probably said that like 30 times already.
She's like, oh, it's the same one, but blue. Wow.
Ooh, it's the same one, but now it's electric. Ooh, it's the same one,
Yeah.
but now it's has numbers on it.
Yeah. No, no, no. This one has the backup camera. It's the best one.
I don't. Do you ever use the backup camera?
Oh, almost exclusively. Yes.
Really? Okay, so because I've been driving cars with, I've never owned a car with a backup camera. So anytime I hop in a car with a backup camera, I don't even think to use it until like I'm like done maneuvering the vehicle around with all the mirrors. And then I'm like, oh yeah, there was a camera that could have helped me like get close to the all the tools that were like sitting behind this car instead of me like
What?
gauging where they are with the mirrors like you would before backup cameras existed.
Yeah. What year's your truck? 12?
14.
14. Okay. Yeah, so you just missed it.
Yep.
I think it's probably because you haven't been ruined by it. Like once you have one car with it once that you start to like rely on it, not counting like rental cars and stuff. I think you'll be like, "Oh, I'm broken now. Can't do anything but this."
Yeah, yeah. Whitney asked, "Does the SSC car do well at random test night, or will it need work for track over autocross?" Whitney,
Mm,
it already has an oil cooler. Um, I it already has brake pads that would be perfectly fine for it. It's it's a really good like dual purpose autocross like track fun car. So it would be ready to go.
I think it's a solid plan.
Now there could be something happening with the engine, but that's future problem for DJ.
You doing a K swap, bro?
I do have a K series engine in my backyard.
FA24 swap?
It would be a
Car guy,
20.
Carlton and you?
No, not no. I'm not swapping a more expensive engine in the car. I would literally just swap a K20. How cool would it be to drive a K20 swapped FRS is like my daily.
That's what that's literally what Andy Spendegaard drives. No, wait, I lied. He drives an F24 swapped. FA24 swapped.
So that's just the newer like BRZ GR86 engine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was I don't like what I just said all
Yeah,
that stuff.
you sounded so car guy.
Tom, I think I love you. That was beautiful. Can we just put a round of hands together for Tom O'Gorman and his car guyness?
Dude,
What?
this feels like the old days when we used to start episodes like with some real weird tangent over here.
That is good. I like that.
I like it.
Miss Jackie
Dude, we're
says
back in
don't
like
K.
episode 70 phase.
Jackie's like don't K20 swap it. Do you not enjoy 9,000 RPM? Actually, I bet the gearing's terrible. I don't know what the stock gearing is, but
Can confirm Jason Wynn used to have a K20 naturally aspirated swapped BRZ, the gray one.
Yeah.
You know, the
Yep.
flat gray one. And it's just not as good as it should be. It's just it needs more.
yeah, I'd have to
I
do
think
a
it has a
K24.
supercharger on it now.
I'd have to do. I think K swapping a blown engine FRS is literally cheaper than putting the correct engine in it. If I know the finances correctly. Die said nope. Die would know. Die would know. One person said it is. The other person said nope. But Whitney, I'm sorry. I think unless I'm really confused, Die
Guys.
literally has a K swapped FRS.
You guys are all listening in real time, listeners of the podcast. You're listening in real time to DJ experiencing the internet. One person says yes, one person says no. I don't know. I'm gonna believe this other person because I want to.
He did a FA for me in another car, and it was so much cheaper. The FA24 is cheaper? That makes no sense. Somebody explain
I
that to
think-
me.
I know for a fact that minus labor. I guess it's the same for both, but like the FA24 is so much simpler. And you don't need nearly as many of the electronic parts or something. I'm speculating car part stuff that I should not be speculating about. Never mind.
I don't know. I
Let's
think
move
that
on.
makes great podcasting. Continue, Tom.
Do you? No. Do you want to hear about what I did this weekend?
Okay, yes, please save me.
Did you have anything else from the weekend? How did you do? You guys autocrossed.
Oh,
We
yeah.
didn't even get there.
I autocrossed with Alex Peel on Saturday. I drove his GR86. He has MCSs, basically Peter's car, because Peter just bought MCS remotes for the GR86. It's gonna
Nice.
it's gonna be basically the same as Alex's, and I will say that the way Alex's car drives was much more placeable and put down power way better than Peter's car that was on just Coney's. So I'm sorry to break the bad news to everyone rocking the Coney squad front and rear on the twins, but I do believe that the MCSs are an advantage on the rear. So guys, get those credit cards crying. Give MCS a call and Brian Carwin, because that's I think that's how everyone's ordering it. Yeah, give Brian Carwin a call and get your MCSs on the rear, because it was a better car. And then I drove a car that I was thinking of buying. I drove Paulo's BRZ, and then proceeded to get beat by Peter on Sunday in his car with Coney's on it. So and the BRZ that I drove from Paulo's has MCSs on the rear. So, but
Okay.
I think I literally just got outdrove like big time. Like Peter was doing so well.
So you drove a car that needs better shocks. You decided you're going to get better shocks. And then drove a car with the better shocks and decided that they don't
No,
need it.
you're thinking too hard, Tom. You're thinking too much during this podcast. I drove Alex Peel's car, who
Alright.
has MCSs. It was
Yeah.
better than Peter's car. And then I drove a BRZ, which surprisingly the throttle mapping is so different on the BRZ compared to GR86, and I wasn't wrapping my head around that like as much as I should have, like
Mm.
as quickly. So I was being like really late on throttle everywhere because on the GR86 it's like way, 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 way more sensitive.
Yep.
So it felt like I almost had to like slap the pedal down on the BRZ to get like the same response as I would like tipping into the throttle on the GR86. I think
Got it.
I actually preferred the way the throttle picked up on the GR86 just because the BRZ felt laggy. It felt like the throttle body was like slow to open. Um, I'm sure I
Which
could have.
is one of my main complaints with my street car, even in the road. Like Dan Howard, our friend Dan drove it in Columbus, or just like borrowed it for a day, and he brought it back. He's like, I hate the throttle in that car. Yeah, it's a little lazy.
Yeah, it's weird. The GR didn't feel like that, but I'm pretty sure it's literally all in the tuning. Like I think the throttle bodies and everything is exactly the same. So it's just how it's tuned from factory. But in the class that we're competing in, you can't change the tune. So like you're just stuck with whatever you get. But the BRZ with its slightly stiffer springs in the front and its softer sway bar and springs in the rear, it put down power so much better than the GR86 did. But I think me and Peter playing around with some bump stops, we can kind of get the car to basically where it needs to be. Plus with the MCSs, then we're gonna have a little bit bigger of a window of getting the car to do exactly what we want.
Nice.
So I'm excited for that. But yeah, that was my weekend and then my crisis. So how was your weekend, Tom O'Gorman?
Guys, that's the real motorsports like suit. I feel like you're chasing the smallest little things
It's so
for the
small.
last little bit. Yeah. Dude, mine was pretty fun. I went to Toledo. We did a doubleheader weekend with. I know I was supposed to go to pit race, but I pivoted last minute and I went to Toledo and did autocrosses. So Saturday was a fun event. It was in remembrance of Chris Bolt and Chris Pruitt, who are both autocrossers who passed away recently due to completely unexpected circumstances, and it kind of hit us all pretty hard. So
Yeah.
Saturday was a event that got pivoted to a just kind of in memoriam. It was a total fun event, and they kind of hustled through the normal event to get to the fun runs as fast as possible. And they did charged fun runs, like $3 a run or $10 for four, and they just kind of all let us play. So that was nice. I guess it was a little odd format because it was supposed to be this other thing, and then it pivoted to this, but it was for a very good reason. So Ito's car, which is his Street GT C6 the car we talked about on the podcast, if you've listened to all the episodes, that was in the wall a couple months ago. So that's where we were autocrossing.
How did it
And I
drive?
think we're on the same tires, right?
What?
Huh?
What do you mean, right? Same tires?
What did you? I think we were on the same tires as back then, is what I was asking, but you asked something too.
Oh, I was asking how did it drive?
Surprisingly good. I kept forgetting it wasn't a stock C606. So I would get into like a slalom and be like, wow, this thing's really sharp. And just, it would kind of like go through there way nicer. But it was, the tires were super dead. So it was like, they seemed really heat sensitive. Like they would be okay until they got hot. And then they were Nankang CRS
They were
V2s, I think.
200 treadwear tires.
No, I can say because I'm not endorsing them.
Okay. So they were
They were
shit.
really dead Nankang CRS, I think V2s. And like when they would get hot, they would just give up. So we spent most of the day just kind of like screwing around with doing the best we could with that. But it didn't matter. We all had a good time. I did a shifter cart run in Larry McLeod's shifter cart.
Oh, I feel like we've
Ooh.
talked about this. One run is not enough.
No, I did 2 runs. It was still not
Oh,
enough.
that's enough.
So real quick, TLDR on this. I did a shifter cart autocross event like 3 months ago. The cart was designed to go 120 miles an hour. It was like a pain in the ass to drive because it was never in the power band. And then I drove Larry's car that was always in the power band, and it was like it was snappy, ready to go. Did my first run. So Larry did a 40-second autocross run. Doesn't matter the tenths. What do you think my first run was in his car?
Well, you told me that you were off, so this is a bad.
No, first run.
Oh, first run. Ooh, okay,
Yeah.
hold on. So Larry is freaking. He's like the most dialed. He's the goat when it comes to K.
Larry is defending champion of this class
multi-time.
many times.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the peak of karting in the autocross world. Where was
Yeah.
Tom? Tom, I think your first run was 3 seconds faster. No, I'm just kidding. Um,
Faster. Right.
like Larry's leaving
No.
3
Okay.
seconds
So
out there.
Larry did a 40 point something. What did I do?
45.
46. What was my second run?
43.
Yep, it was 43.
Yep.
I was so bad. I was so bad at it. I just don't understand carts.
Did
I
it?
don't understand
Okay, hold
carts. I
on.
don't really like them.
Was it? Did you do the run and you're like, okay, that wasn't too bad, and then you're like, oh, that was awful when you looked at the clock, or were you like,
No, I
oh,
did the
I knew there's gobs of time, I'm just melting.
Yeah, that second one.
Okay.
The first run was really slow because I hit the brakes for the first actual corner where you have to slow down, and the weight was still going away from the corner, and I wanted to go towards the corner. So when I hit the brakes too hard, everything locked down, and I kept going the way away from the corner. So I had to like re-navigate, get myself back together, and then just figure the rest of the thing out. And the second run, because I was so gun shy from the brakes on the first run, it do you know the sensation of when a car has too much front brake bias, so it both doesn't turn, but then also like wants to like overly stop?
Yeah.
Do you, it felt like that. So my body took that as, oh, I need to like brake softer because the brakes are just going to locked up. But it felt like front brakes only, but it was actually all the brakes. And basically it boiled down to his assessment was I was doing everything way too much. So like if I needed to turn like this, I would turn like three times as much. Or if I needed to hit the brake like this, I would hit it 3 or 4 times too much. So all of my inputs were like amplified to car level when they needed to be dialed down to cart level.
How many runs do you think it would take to be within the same second of Larry?
I genuinely, I think like a six to 12 month number of events
Not like 10
kind of thing.
runs.
Dude,
You're saying months.
no. Larry, genuinely, Larry and his son Jackson are like some of the most impressive people. As of now, having finally shared the cart with them,
Yeah.
I still maintain that they're not fully doing. I don't want to say they're not fully doing autocross because they're doing their version of autocross. I don't think it translates fully between one to the other.
Yeah.
But in the same way that I would hope to be in the conversation for like great autocrossers, Larry and Jackson both genuinely are like some of the most incredible autocrossers I've ever seen.
Cool.
They're doing it in such a different way than any of us can wrap our head around. That when we try to do it, it's just like
It's like
I don't
they're
understand that, no.
specializing in a thing that like our experience in cars is not going to necessarily translate. Do you think
It's
do you
like
think their experience in a cart would translate better to a car rather than a car to a cart?
that's a good conversation to have them with because I also drove Julian Garfield's ND MX5, which I felt great with right away. Honestly, I don't really find cars that I don't feel comfortable with. So when I get in a cart, I'm like, I just don't understand this.
Yeah.
I would be really curious to have them get back in cars and see like with a measurable timer to say like, we know that I was 3 seconds off them in their cart. I know for a fact they're not going to be 3 seconds off me in a car,
So
but by
that
scale, maybe. I don't know.
well, yeah, I mean, I would expect Larry to be within the same second and a half of you in a car at least, right? So,
Possibly.
I don't
I
know.
just think it's really impressive. I have firsthand accountability for like what they're doing is so impressive, and the fact
You
that
could
they're
just
like
see it.
top paxing that way.
Dude, you could see it
You're
from
like,
the
"What?"
outside, like how
Yeah,
well executed it is. So I know a
it's
lot of
cool.
the times it just looks like carts are like, and you just like see them like zipping around the course or whatever. But you'll see it. You'll see like when there's a bunch of cart mod people, all at an event. You'll see Larry and his son. They'll go out and there's just like a different level of smoothness and like planning in where the cart is in relationship to where it needs to be for the rest of the course. Like they link all the elements together so well, like and so quickly. And the momentum and the way the cart's moving around just looks so efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a cool experience on Saturday. And then Sunday, well, first of all, we went to dinner, the group of people from the event. And I gotta say, like, just being back being surrounded by these people that I've known for like 10 to 15 years. Again, it's the same thing I said after our school. It's just like so nice to be hanging out with people like that and be back in this area and all that's great. I wish I could have like taken my town in Wisconsin and moved it back to Ohio,
Yeah.
but part of like what's helping make up for what I miss about Wisconsin is rediscovering what I miss about Ohio. So that's really nice. We went to dinner with like the O'Malleys and the McLeods and a bunch of Detroit region people and Ito. And then the next day I co-drove with Chad again in his Civic Type R. And we had a class of like 18 cars, which it was like everything from Focus RS to the GRD6 and the V6 Mustang and the Turbo 4 Camaro and all that. Like we had everything there. And I got the win in the class, but I got fourth in packs behind Dave Montgomery and Larry McLeod and Neil Britton in a Camaro.
Ooh, good drive from
So
Neil.
I didn't feel,
Yeah.
yeah, it was really good. And he did it in the damp too. So I feel like I got, like, if I'm going to lose to something, I lost to a Camaro. I feel kind of good about it.
Yeah, you're like, that's fine.
But also, I learned this other cool thing this weekend. So if you do the whole event weekend and then you like look at the results sheet and then you take out the people in front of you, you won. So I got like if I take out the three in front of me, I got first.
Oh, okay. So I'll just on Saturday I just have to take out the oh no, Saturday. Nope, I was fourth on Saturday. Dude, I was in third, probably going like 80 something miles an hour on the course on Saturday. So anytime you're going that fast in a D Street car, you know you're losing to cars with the actual power.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's wild.
yeah. So if I just take out all the cars with over 300 horsepower, then I got top packs on Saturday.
Dude, there you
Yeah.
go.
Hey, I like
Congrats.
these rules. I win all the time. Just make it up.
Uh, but no, I felt like I drove super well. I was really happy with my um, I peaked on my third run. Like I was trying to like maximize 3 runs because there may be a chance that I drive this car at nationals, but I don't know yet.
Gotcha.
So
Wait, what's
the whole
what's waiting to figure out? Just like trying to get some answers on other things or what?
yeah, whether I can they D Street runs Thursday, Friday, and I don't know if I can be there Thursday, Friday.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, I don't we'll see.
Yeah,
But
you got to
all
figure
that
out
to
the
say, it was a good
logistics.
weekend. Doubleheader autocross. We had a good time.
Okay.
And I can't there was nothing that really stood out. Like we had a it was a pretty standard autocross experience. There was nothing like oh, I had a fun one. I did ride with Chad on all of his runs, who's the guy that I co-drive with in his Civic Type R.
Yeah.
And working from the passenger seat with people is now a common thing across 2 weekends. I autocross with Chad this weekend, rode with him. Previous weekend I rode with Jason. And just riding in the car with people as they learn has been a little bit of an interesting thing over the last 2 weekends
Okay.
because you're hearing both how they verbalize what they feel, but you also hear what they don't, or I guess you don't hear. You don't hear what they don't feel. So you're feeling things that they're not feeling. And you're like, oh, that's really important that you missed that. We need to talk about that. Um, and then you're also feeling the way that they make changes in real time
So you know
that you can
exactly
have them
how
describe to you.
yeah, so you know exactly how they're interpreting what you're telling them.
Yeah. And I've been working as a coach on a racetrack for the last 2.5, 3 years, uh, in increasing capacities. And I usually don't ride with people because I'm not very comfortable. But last weekend I rode with Jason at Autobahn, and I've been working with Jason or seeing him drive for up to 3 years now. So I have a very good like trust and uh, you know rapport with him. And then Chad, we're autocrossing, and it was finally not a national event, so we could actually get in the passenger seat and ride with each other and talk about what we felt, and I could demonstrate to him, but also have him, show me what he's doing and talk about it in real time. I'm kind of coming around on the idea that there's like a massive value in being in the car with somebody, as much as I don't want to be in the car with somebody. When you're really living what they're feeling, and you're learning how they verbalize what they're trying to what they're feeling and what they're trying to say. And I've also felt it, so I can relate to it without them losing track of the words. Like I can just say like, yeah, I felt what you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
actually a really powerful thing.
Okay.
I still don't want to be in a car.
You gotta you gotta add a surcharge to Tom O'Gorman coaching, like a little right seat checkbox.
It's gonna be a zero.
Quantity zero or price of zero?
No, the charge at the bottom of the invoice
Oh.
gets a zero on the end of it for me to ride with you on a racetrack. Uh, so yeah, that was the last part of the weekend. It was fun to. Do you and Peter ever ride with each other?
Yeah, all the time.
Do you feel the same way? You feel do you feel like what you've learned from riding with Peter has helped you uh work with him and his words and his thoughts and all that?
Yeah, definitely. I think
Have you thought about that before?
yeah, I think well, I not necessarily like building the language that we use for each other, but I do think that has helped with how we communicate to each other. Um like we've almost come up with our own vocabulary when we're like dissecting our
Yeah.
techniques and our approach, right? Um but Peter's getting to the point where when I ride with Peter, I learn things of like, oh, I could have approached that section of the course differently or whatever. Like Peter's getting to the point where like two brains are better than one to like
Yeah.
pull us both up. So that's really exciting to see. But yeah, when for the 2 years prior riding with I could see a lot of the times it would be because and this necessarily wouldn't show up on the squiggly lines on data. You would see something that it was like a bad habit that was fixed, and you would see that like creeping back in. And so you'd give a reminder like, "Hey, let's make sure we're having good hands," or "Our eyes are I saw your eyes doing this," or like the fundamental stuff. You could see like, while Peter was focusing on other things, you could see these other things that were fine before, but now that the focus is elsewhere, you could see those bad habits starting to creep back in. So when
Yep.
I would ride with, I could catch those bad habits before they could actually like take root and cause any harm. And I do think that that really helped the progression.
That's a perfect point to something I experienced with Jason, where over the day, like, after the first, let's say 3 sessions, we'd ridden together. And honestly, like, there was not a single spot. There were 2 spots where there was some like line choice. I could see his intention was just a little bit incorrect. And real quick, Jason, sorry to like air your dirty laundry, but the day was so productive, and I feel like it's a really good conversation to have, so we're having it.
Sorry.
That yeah, based on your own driving. Uh, so there was like a couple little like he had a bad hat. We were at Autobahn South. If you're from Autobahn, you can picture this. In turn 5 and in turn 13, 12, he would actually come off both corners, and instead of like letting the car kind of breathe with the steering wheel, he would keep the steering wheel really bound up, trying to get the car to the opposite side of the track to set up for the previous corner. When he had more time than he realized, and it was like super quick, like, hey, that's like a tenth. You're keeping the wheel super bound up. Other than that, he had everything pretty much dialed. It would just be like these big mistakes or these big losses of intention would create these problems where we would leave the session with like your opportunity for the time is way closer to my personal reference lap than what you're actually doing on the timer. So you'd have problems like halfway through the session, I noticed he would start to use more and more steering angle, and by the end of the session he's using like 140 degrees of steering angle. It's like, what's going on there? We need to talk about that,
Yeah.
or we need to talk about the consistency for linking turns 1 through 3 is super important to get lap time out of that track. And he would lose consistency on the intention of those corners. So instead of like getting into the rhythm and staying in it, he would try to like try things. And one of the big takeaways I had riding with him was when he would make a change, it would be both too late and too big. So he'd realize he was making mistakes. And again, sorry, Jason, to like use you so bluntly as an example, but he would realize like, hey, I'm braking too late for this corner, and I'm braking at the 3. So instead of braking at the 3, I'm just going to brake at the 4, which is like a big range.
Yeah.
It's a way too big of a change, but he would have missed the corner 3 times before he made the change, right? So if I'm never in the car and when I'm doing coaching, I don't know if you do this, you tend to focus on data sets that are pretty small because like, oh, this is your best lap, this is your best couple sectors, this is your best 3 laps. And if I wasn't in the car with him, I never would have picked up on like this being the curve. So being able to talk about the curve, the conversations shifted from like these are the ways you can go faster to these are the ways we could be way more consistent. We can be way closer to your fastest lap potential and minimize these mistakes. And that's what we spent most of the day doing, even though there were also conversations happening about both car setup uh and small ways to go faster. It was like, how do we get closer to that point all day long? Because
Yeah.
that's what I realized is the thing that stood out.
So when most of my coaching is online and on iRacing, but most of the time when you're right with the small data set because I'll take their fastest lap and I'm comparing it against my fastest lap, and then we're trying to pick
Yep.
out low hanging fruit from that. A lot of times during that, I'm trying to instill like core. I'm trying anytime I'm like, okay, we're really struggling with this section, and we use the tools that iRacing allows. There's like a reset function where you can just like if you're having troubles on turn four, then we make a reset right before it, and we do turn four a bunch, right, and then we like iron out whatever's going on there.
Yep.
During that, we'll have conversations that I will try to find the root cause, and most of the time it comes down to a fundamental that's either misunderstood or just not being executed properly, or maybe even not, maybe being neglected in focus, right? Where it's like, oh crap, I didn't understand how important that would be, or okay, I've been told that, but I see how it applies here, or like for example, like we got to get our eyes to the exit, and then that will inform when you get on throttle, because I see it all the time where it's get on throttle, where are we going to end up? And now you're like looking for the exit, right? And it's such a small shift where it's
Yeah.
eyes up to
You're
inform when to get on throttle, not throttled and then figure out where you're going to go. It feels so it's such a minuscule difference in the car, but in terms of consistency, it is like world changing. So
It's like you get to the apex and the Viking hat goes on and you're like, it's my time. And you go to throttle
yeah, you're on a
regardless of whatever happens.
conquest. Yeah, you're on a conquest.
Yeah. That's funny.
I like that. That's a fun little visual. They're on a
You're going on a
conquest.
conquest.
Yeah.
You're going too early. Too
Don't
early.
don't go on conquest. Make you have your see your destination. Come on.
Yeah.
Um but a lot of times I'll try to get back to whatever the core thing is, because it would be really easy to be like, you were late on throttle. Right? But it's like, well, let's figure out why. Why are you late on throttle consistently here? Like I've watched a couple
Yep.
laps. These are the consistent issues. I can spot a mistake of like, oh, I just bunged that up. Right? I never even like bring those up. It's like I've seen you do it right 6 times in a row and you messed it up once. I'm having you focus on a lot of things. We're like that. We're not looking at that. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly where the conversation went because it was not like I need to talk to Jason about how to do turns 1 through 2 and 3. I have to talk to we have to talk about why it goes wrong 6 out of 10 times, you know? So
Yeah.
you have this conversation and being in the car with him, I could feel it was like I could feel a priority of driving the car hard over driving the car to the kind of verbiage we came up with was there's like a punch list of points almost like you call them reference points, you can call them clipping points, whatever. Like this punch list is what's going to make the lap time or break the lap time. And at Autobahn, there's a couple. We kind of boiled it down to like 4 or 5 at Autobahn. It's like if you don't finish turn one by building speed from the time you get on throttle at turn one, building speed all the way through turn two with a consistent arc that backsides the apex of turn two into turn three, which is what he was obviously intending to do every time. If it started to go wrong, he would keep driving the car hard rather than correct it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, you know that this is a thing that needs to happen. You're trying to make it happen, but you're trying in a counterproductive way, which is the exact same way I used to autocross because I would say, hey, that slalom's flat out. And I would just go flat through the slalom. And like by cone 3, I would just be like plowing through everything. That's not how that works. You can't just decide.
Decide the
You can't
car's
just
gonna do
decide to
this
drive.
thing.
Yeah, so that was it was a pretty cool experience riding with somebody for the first time that I trusted like that, and being able to like really digest it almost makes me think about like when I'm doing the remote coach, not remote, data and video coaching.
Yeah.
I need to be looking at a broader data set for sure.
Like,
And it also brought up a couple other parameters that you need to look at.
yeah, like, instead of just watching whatever the best lap is and then figuring out that, maybe watching a couple more laps from the same session or maybe even different sessions if it's like a time attack thing might
Yep.
actually enlighten us of another issue that needs to have a conversation rather than like it could look like just oh that was he just messed it up a little bit, maybe that's not even worth mentioning, or maybe I could mention it but like I'm not going to go into that conversation. But if it's like I just watched 3 laps in a row and that mistake, that small mistake looked exactly the same every time, we need to talk about the approach in this particular section of the track. So, and there
Yep.
might be big mistakes somewhere else, but he did it fine all the other laps.
And usually what I do is I pull up like their best 5 laps on data, so I can look at all the data sets and just like really see on the traces where the consistency versus the mistakes are.
Yeah.
So I have the broad data set in the car, but sorry, in the data, but I feel like being in the car, as much as I don't want to be there most of the time, it did help me get in his head to think like really think like I'm understanding what the thought process is here, being in the car and understanding by the end of the session 15 20 minutes later you're using 30% more steering wheel than you were at the beginning of the session, and let's talk about why.
Yeah.
That was a it was a good it's a good productive thing.
Well, that you being in the car would help with that as well because like you would feel that it's like okay, that was we got to the correct amount of wheel and then we like surpassed it and we kept doing that to the point where I'm like all right, like now we have to talk about that because sometimes people will just like brain fart where they're just like I'm understeering a little bit and they like twist some more wheel into it and you get to like elbow them and like give them a little shit later. um but
Yeah.
like it only happens like that one time or whatever, right? Like sometimes people revert back to like these poor instincts. uh but when yeah,
Mhm.
when you see it consistently happening, it's like okay, we need to just shift whatever the focus is. How do you get somebody to stop overturning the wheel, Tom?
um I've actually had this problem a lot. Whoa, it's raining so hard outside.
Oh,
Sorry. I
not yet here.
yeah. I have like an actual front view in front of me, in front of the outside. I want to go sit outside right now.
Okay, well,
Um,
we'll just end the
okay, so
podcast at
you
46 minutes.
just pause. How do you get somebody to stop turning the wheel too much? So I feel like it's a two conversations. One of them is just pay attention to physical. Like I usually say, knuckles up. If you go past knuckles up, you're going too far. Or counter, if someone's stuck getting knuckles up, they like go here. So meaning knuckles up means like 70, 80 degrees of steering angle, and then it just gets stuck there. You just point out their physical hand position in front of their eyes, and they can kind of pay attention to where they're turning. And then the other side is just the weight in the steering wheel. Like, hey, you're using 140 degrees of steering angle. That's way too freaking much, which almost in every car, that's way too much. Uh, like, pay attention to the weight in the wheel. And if when you feel it go away, when the weight is gone, you turn more, nothing's going to happen.
So I generally find like the root cause of that is their hands are too tight on the wheel.
That is a big problem. Yep.
Yeah.
Way
So
firm grip.
they don't notice that like because the tire will load up if you have nice loose hands on the wheel. You can feel the wheel load up and then you can feel it not change and then actually unload. Like if you keep going like and the not change is like you're just like balancing in that angle of slip angle and that's kind of like where you want to be, right? And then when you get
Yep.
back to the point where it like actually unloads, now you turned the car into a little bit of a snowmobile. And if you have too tight of hands, you're not going to notice that like tiny nuance, especially in like modern cars with, just like electric power steering or even like the hydraulic steering. You're not going to notice that. But like the eighth gen Civic, the GLTC car, man, I would have like just fingertips. I'd be driving that thing like it was a PlayStation controller. Like I would just have like the very tips of my fingers on it. Way too often I see these little fist balls on these like cars that I know like you barely need to touch that wheel to turn it.
You know,
What?
the one that's even worse for me, Okay, so you're talking about the hand grip in the wheel,
Yeah.
and they don't have gloves on. If you, I'm gonna try to do it, but I don't think it's gonna work. They're gripping so hard, you see the dent in
Oh,
right where their thumb, right where their
yeah.
thumb. Like if you're gripping so hard, you see the dent where their thumb and their hand kind of palm meet on the
If
outside. You know
listener,
what I'm talking
if
about?
listener, if you're driving your car right now, I want you to look at your hand. Can you see a little thumb dimple?
Like if you can see the tension in the wrists and the dimple right where the thumb is like kind of wrapping under the wheel. Oh, that's like, oh God, just breathe, dude. Breathe. Come on.
You know what? It's hard though. Like I find that relaxing part is I think it's honestly the hardest part about driving fast. And it's because you
I think so.
it's so hard to try to um like you're trying so hard at something, but you need to do it relaxed. That is such a hard thing to do. I notice it playing the trumpet too. I'll get all tense up for a really hard part, but me getting tense is actually going to make my execution of that thing worse than it would be otherwise. That if I just had clean, like good focus on it, but a relaxed body, then I would execute on that thing way better. But that is such, and it's so hard to practice too. You just have to catch yourself in the moment when you feel that like you're all tensed up. And
Yep.
you you'll notice it because, like, you'll be like, "Oh, my hands, like, feel like they've been, like, death gripping wheel." You won't notice it when it's happening. You'll just notice the after effect. It will feel like you just, like, grip the shit out of your wheel. Or you just feel like, "Oh, my shoulders were all tensed up before I played through that passage," or whatever. Like, you'll notice the side effects of being tense. You won't notice it when you are tense, because like, if you noticed it when you were tense, you wouldn't be tense because you'd have enough bandwidth to actually notice that thing. Tom, what are you doing right now?
I'm looking at the rain. Sorry.
Ooh, water out of the sky. I'm Tom.
I love the rain.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
I'm Tom. I'm Mr. Rain Miser.
What is that? Is that a
uh,
song?
it is, yeah.
Okay.
If you know the reference, email us podcast at loserbrain.life.
I'm glad you remember the email address. It's been a long time since we've said it.
It has. No, I think you're you're yeah, I'm with you. I'm trying to like formulate what I'm thinking about that because uh it's one of those things where like I have this memory of being at Mid Ohio within the first couple track days I had done, and I came over turn 5 madness, that left-hander over the crest, and I remember it was halfway through a session and I felt my eyes look to the right and I looked to like kind of down to the Honda bridge, which is like way at the exit and below you at that moment. And in that moment, it was a natural thing that I did, but in the moment I also realized I hadn't looked there yet. And I'm like halfway through a session and I hadn't looked to the exit of this corner going down into turn 6 and turning to the right, you know? So I'm like I'm so focused on looking to the left and looking for my turning point and coming over this crest and getting the car in control that I didn't notice that I had been creating or making this mistake until I naturally looked up, and as soon as I felt my eyes move, I was like, "Oh, that was good. That was oh, I hadn't been doing that. That's bad." You don't
Yeah.
really notice that you're making that mistake of death grip until you feel the tension release, and
Hmm.
you're just like, "Oh, wait, hang on. I don't need all that going on. Like everything's fine."
Honestly, I feel like I feel like the stuff that I've been working on lately with my driving is just trying to be as relaxed as possible. And that's right now at the stage where I'm at with my driving. I feel like that's where I'm finding the most gains is just being like not even just my hands relaxed, but just my being relaxed as I'm in the seat. But like intensity of focus. Like if you saw my face, it looks like I'm about to murder you. But the rest of me like is at least trying to be relaxed. And it's like
Yeah.
something I'm like actively trying to work on. Like hands, elbows, shoulders, like all I want all of that relaxed.
So here's an interesting thing from the weekend. When I co-drove with Ito on Saturday, uh, with Ito, we were two drivers in a 90 car event, three heats, which means you run like immediately. The car parks, you swap drivers, you go again. The car parks, you swap drivers, you go again. And on Sunday it was a normal event, like you would run a normal event, which means you're guaranteed 5 minutes, but you could get up to 15, 20 between your runs. And that rapid fireness of like park the car, swap drivers, go with Ito was both not fulfilling and incredibly difficult to like really process what was going on
Yeah.
for improving the next run. And I actually ended up running the same time, like all my runs, all 6 runs, basically, I ran the same time. But then the next day when we had the time to really think about it, and even though I'm like, prepping the tires and spraying everything, and we're swapping drivers, and I'm talking with Chad about how he can improve his run, and we're looking at stuff, and it's the difference in 5 minutes to 10, no, not even 5, to 3 minutes to 10 or 13. Like that 10 minutes that it takes to actually really assess it is huge,
Yeah,
crazy huge.
it is.
And it makes the payoff big time, because we did that whole event with Ito, and it was just like, well, that was done. Now we're done. We did 3 runs in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, and it was like bing bang bong, done. And then the next day we did 5 runs, same number of runs, but we did it in a way that flowed really well. And the fact that we took that time, it's like really really made a difference.
That's kind of how Sunday was, and like Saturday was paced really well, and then Sunday was kind of like the um Paulo's brother Seth, who I was driving with, would come back, and then he was literally still climbing out of the car, and we would get the 5-car warning, and I'm like okay, I guess
Yeah.
I'll spray these tires very quickly, and then like adjust my seat and like everything else as I'm driving up to the line. Like that's how I went every line, and I don't want to make that as the excuse, but I did not drive on Sunday as well as I did on Saturday. On Saturday, I felt like I was pretty lights out with how I drove. On Sunday, it just felt like I had a plan and I just couldn't execute on the plan. And I'm wondering how much the chaos before I jumped in the car like had to do with that.
I think it's measurable. I think it's really I think it's a testament to something we've talked about before, which is, obviously we're talking a lot in the context of autocross, but you can take that to everything.
Yeah.
And if you're one of those people who's constantly kind of scrambling to make grid, or to make the start, or to make the session, or to insert thing here, or you're constantly late for the sessions, like that, I think weighs on you way more than you realize when it comes to the stress of what's going on at the event.
Yeah, like you're
That's kind of, to me, what a testament's to,
yeah,
because
you're
I didn't have the ability to really process what I was doing. How are you supposed to do that if you're constantly rushing to grid, and you're the last car there after the 1 minute's been giving?
yeah, like your cortisol's already spiked. Like you have
Your what?
entered cortisol. That's a stress
What does
hormone.
that one do?
It's a stress
Okay,
hormone.
got it.
Sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you, Tom.
I only know dopamine.
Okay. We'll get to all the chemicals soon enough.
Perfect.
But yeah, your cortisol's already spiked. It takes time for that to dissipate out. So if you go into the stressful situation already stressed, seems and the goal, like if being relaxed is what is going to help you perform better, that you're already at a detriment than what you could have been.
Yep. That was a big takeaway for me this weekend.
Okay. Well, we did kind of have a topic, Tom, but I think I enjoyed our conversation. So we'll save it for some other time. Do you want to answer some questions?
We should. We had a couple of really good ones in the no mic questions here.
Okay. We will jump over to that, and I will play the music. Emails. This is a no mic question. If you want to write in an email, it's lizard brains. Hold on,
Nope. No, it's
Tom,
not.
help us. Lizard dot.
If you would like to, hey, everyone who listened to that, forget that. If you'd like to email us, it is podcast@lizardbrain.life.
Thank you.
Or you can join our Discord server and join the community there, over 300 strong, where you can type in questions and we answer them either live during the episode, or we answer them in the future if you type them in the chat.
You know what my favorite thing is about the Discord, besides the live audience and the chat where people are interacting and stuff like that, is
What's
that people are actually like they're not just having conversations with us. I love it when people
No.
are having conversations with each other about like lizard brain things. Like they're talking about driving and and there's even some Carlton McCarguy shit like sneaking in there and like there's just
Yeah.
it's like it's cool. It's cool watching just like people interacting with other people and being helpful and it's just yeah, guys, if you're not in Discord, like come on. Come on over. There's hundreds of you that are not in the Discord at this point. So like come on over. We're friendly, I swear. But we have a
Chop
channel.
chop.
We have a channel that's dedicated for questions, and this seems to be where we're getting most of our questions recently. So come on over, ask us some questions, hang out with the community. That's how we communicate mostly to everyone. We are planning a Lizard Brain game night. We got to figure out
Oh,
more
we are.
details
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
about the Exocross game. It's iRacing's. They bought a studio that was making some like weird off-road racing game, and now that weird off-road racing game is coming out. I don't know how many people can play it. I know nothing about it. I just know that iRacing had something to do with its development, so I think we're going to do a game night on that. It might be like $60, so normally game night's only like $5 games, but
Yeah, we'll aim for free because I don't want to pay for anything.
maybe Kevin
So
can
the
get you
first
a
question
code.
is from yeah, maybe. This first question is topical, so we're gonna jump straight to it. It's most recent, but it's from today from Randy. Says, "Hey, I'm going to Road America with Grid Life in my S2000, and I wanted to know if you guys have any advice for that track, and also how to remove the fear I have with going to a track that is known to be dangerous and unforgiving. Also, how do you guys learn high risk tracks such as this one? Thank you, and I love the show." All right, DJ, how do you feel about going into a track like Road America? How would you save yourself first?
Save myself?
Well, that's what he asked. How do you have any advice for how to remove? No, no, wait, hang on.
To
Any advice? Any advice for Road America? And do you have and how to remove the fear going to a track like that?
I'm willing to bet that Tom has a really good boosted films video on Road America.
You know, I don't because Andy did that one, and
Oof.
he's kind of a hater of Road America, so it's a little spicy.
Is it?
I realized. I realized the original question was in a different channel, and he asked, "Does anyone have advice for Road America in S2000? I'm scared because I've seen videos and I know to avoid curbs, but do you have any additional advice?"
Gotcha.
So yes, I think Randy, if you're in an S2000 that doesn't have any beefed up suspension in any way, you have to make a conversation with yourself before you go to the weekend and decide: Am I willing to use the curbs and break my car, or am I willing to hold back a little and not use the curbs?
Are the curbs
Because the curbs are
still
faster.
really
The-
rough even with the repave?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
there's the same curbs. So if you're willing to break the car and maximizing the raw lap time is important to you, go for it. That's what I ask everybody before I drive their car at Road America. But if not breaking the car is a priority for you, stay off the curbs and maximize the track as not using the curbs. In my opinion, Road America is not a track where you get yourself in trouble because it's hard. It's just not as forgiving if the car or you are not paying attention. So, like, if you make a massive mistake and you create a big incident, it's going to end up being a big incident versus going off into a field.
Yeah.
And likewise, if you have a big mechanical failure at Road America, the consequences are probably higher. But it's not the kind of track where like it puts you into a really compromised position. Like honestly, pit race puts you in a couple compromised positions that make the car way more likely to crash because of what you're doing with it than like Road America does.
Yeah, I
It's
would
just
agree
Road
with that.
America doesn't have the safety.
I would say turn
Uh,
13 might catch people out. I mean that is
yeah,
the corner that caught you out. When I drove Road America in iRacing, turn 13 in like every car you drove there was a nothing. But when I drove it in real life, turn 13, the car gets a good float, you go outside, if you overreact to it or the car just decides to hate you, uh that could be a troublesome spot that you wouldn't necessarily think would be a troublesome spot. The spots that people are afraid of, that tends to not be where the incidents happen. The incidents
yep.
tend to happen turn 1 is where the incidents tend to happen. People run wide, it's a little rough out there. People will get like in a tank slapper. You're in a tunnel of walls, right? You're going to find something. Turn 6, I've seen too many people crash there. Um turn 7, a little intimidating.
You're going well,
So I
well,
don't think
6, turn 6, real quick. Turn 6, you're going uphill into level, so the car's going light,
yep,
so the car can lose control on entry. 6 is the hardest corner in my opinion.
to
So
like
just
extract
pay
lap time
attention.
out of.
Yeah, but it's still like the car always wants to spin on entry if you're pushing. So just pay attention to the entry of 6.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Go ahead. 7.
I've seen people crash at 7, but I think that corner's relatively intimidating, so I don't think it really catches people out.
And it's only because if you trust it too much and you hit the outside curb without preparing for it. Yeah.
Yeah, or you like maybe you like catch the inside curb a little weird and it bounces you and then you go wider than you anticipated and I think there's like some jumps out there somewhere. Um
Yep.
and then like turn 13 cuz all the other corners people are afraid of, right? So,
I agree. I mean, be aware that the carousel, about 2/3 of the way through, it gains a bunch of camber and also goes downhill. So you want to make sure that you're aware that the car is going to change balance about 2/3 of the way through the carousel. And then I agree, 13, you're going blind. You're turning left over a blind crest where there's a curb that you can kind of pop, and the car can go a little bit awkward. But if you're aware of all those spots, I don't think anybody goes into that lap driving hard enough for those things to catch you out. I just think Road America is perceived with higher consequences because it has them for for anomalies more than anything.
yeah. And if did he say he
But have fun.
was yeah, did he say he was like doing time attack or whatever? If you're just doing HPD,
Yeah.
I wouldn't at least the outside curbs. I wouldn't touch any of the outside curbs.
No, no. Yeah, you can do a perfectly fine lap of Road America with no curbs on the exit and all the curbs on the inside. He's doing time attack in Club TR.
Oh, he
So
is? Okay.
he will be pushing, but hey, now you have the information. Choose your risk and have fun.
Yeah, the curbs turned the rear of the Civic into dynamic tow. It was a random number generator where which way the wheel was going to be pointing when I came out of the corner. So,
And the S2000s broke control arms
yeah,
operates on them all the time.
Tom turned into a robot, but he was saying that the S2000 suspensions just like fell
It
apart.
is bad.
I remember Tom, I remember passing you when your left rear tire was trying to escape the car and I thought, "Oh,
No, that was Zach's left rear tire.
but you were driving the car." Okay. Anyways, and I thought, "Ooh, Tom's left rear tires looking pretty bad. I'm gonna get like I forget exactly who I was racing. I was like really I think I was racing Andy and I was like really
Underground,
heated
yeah.
battle with Andy and I was thinking, oh man, I'm gonna get hung up. I think I like was just starting to pull away from Andy and I was just like I had the largest gap I ever had the whole race and I saw you broken in front of me limping it through the carousel and I went, oh, I have to like gauge the space so I get a good run through the kink so I don't get bottled up on Tom, right? Like I'm thinking this as I'm like catching your broken car as you're trying to limp it across. It was like the final lap. And
Zach's broken car.
Zach's broken car. And I thought Tom's gonna be a freaking rolling chicane through the kink. You went so fast through the kink without left rear suspension. I was like, I made space so I would still get a good run through it. So Andy couldn't attack me into Canada corner or however that worked out. And I made space for no reason. I remember that because me and Andy were side by side going across the finish line on the last lap.
Dude, I had stuff to do.
Yeah, Tom had somewhere to be.
Yeah. I was in second and my car just broke and I'm not gonna lose this race. I finished 15th. So,
Wait, where did I finish? Because
not great.
yeah,
You were like
we're.
7th or 8th.
I mean, me and Andy were just like killing each other the whole race, so we couldn't have placed too well. But that's still my favorite race I've ever had. Was that race 3 with Andy?
Yeah, that's fun to watch. It's on YouTube if you guys go look at the ASM and DJ's channel. Wait, you have video of it, right?
The GoPro decided not to GoPro.
No, who's someone behind you? I think it was
Luke
Licky.
McGrew. Luke McGrew, and
McGrew.
I watch him probably like at least once a year. It's
That's fun.
Andy has a really good video. At some point, you'll see
Yes.
my mirror turn his mirror because he gave me a car width plus a half an inch on the outside of 6, and our mirrors had a little fight. And
And
Luke was behind
That's
us.
the AS Motorsports YouTube channel.
Yep.
And Luke, what? Sorry.
It was so good. Nope, it was just oh, man, that was so good. And then I immediately crashed right after that, and I was still like, "Racing's the best thing ever," even though my car's dead. Just
Yeah,
literally just because of that race 3, it was so good.
that was a fun one. That was back in the Hoosier days.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's because we went out on Hoosier Slicks because I figured somebody was gonna crash and make it full course yellow. I just didn't think it was gonna be me.
Yeah. Bummer.
Dang it.
Okay, should we do I feel like we should do Todd no, wait, hang on. I had a good one. Ooh, here it is from Mike Rasney. Do you see it? Mike
Yes.
Rasney's question.
I've been a certified cone killer.
Yeah, we should do that one.
Okay, so Mike Rasney writes in, I've been a certified cone killer this year. I normally try not to overreact and keep driving the way I was, and I'll be able to get a clean one in. That absolutely has not worked this year. When I try to lay a clean run, it ends up intrusive and really messing up my approach. What is your mental process for a quote unquote safety run if cones won't if cones just won't get out of your way? Those pesky cones.
Frickin' cones. Okay, so this question is about you get a certain number of runs in a day at an autocross, and I keep hitting cones. How do I stop hitting cones? And I went through this. So that's why I felt like we should do this question. Because
I did that.
I had a really hard time with this.
I
Did
did
you
that on
struggle with this?
Saturday. Yeah, on Saturday. I was trying to beat Alex in the first 3 runs, and it came literally down to, or maybe it was Sunday. It was. I remember thinking, "Ooh, this is good practice for nationals," because I was sitting on cones on my first 2 runs,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm not entirely sure where I hit those cones. I just gotta. I asked and was like, okay, I'll just give myself a little bit more space there, and then I just did the run exactly how I would otherwise. I didn't let it live in my head at all.
Do you think this is a fair comparison to I suck at qualifying?
I think so.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when someone says I suck at qualifying?
I think it's kind of the same headspace, right? I suck at the safety run, I suck at qualifying. And also
Yes.
safety run, you're never going to be happy with safety run. Don't do a safety run.
No, safety run means you only have one run left, and the only thing you can do is do something safe because otherwise everything you've done it sucks. And I've done them and I hate them. It
Yeah, I'd
sucks.
rather cone.
So, but I think I had the solution for this.
Okay, what is it?
So maybe not for qualifying, but for autocrossing, for the way you think about the course. I used to have this problem so bad because to what I said earlier, I used to just decide, hey, that solemn's flat out. I'm just gonna take it flat out. Like I would just decide on the course walk that solemn is what it is. And I realized after 4, 5, 6 years of autocrossing that I would walk a course, decide what I should do, and then do that. And I would not change what I was going to do until way too late. And it was those days where I would hit a bunch of cones. And the way I would say it now is you need to drive course as presented, not the course the way you want it to be driven. So if you're struggling with hitting a lot of cones at an autocross course, you are trying to drive it in a way that you want to drive it, but it's not actually capable of being driven. If you are, uh, if you're struggling with like getting through transitions specifically, if you're just hitting stuff, then you just need to make the car a little wider in your brain. But I feel like what he's saying is like I'm hitting cones in slaloms, I'm hitting cones in transitions, I'm hitting cones on courses where I'm trying really hard. And that means like you're driving the course the way that you want to drive the course rather than the way the course needs to be driven. So think of it as things that can't be hit. Think of it as a route that cannot be deviated rather than I'm going to drive the car that way through that thing. And I also think that that's kind of an autocross or sorry, a qualifying trap because people like they just do the same thing and
They're not adjusting.
they don't take it anywhere. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Just to jump on that as well is
Go for it.
if first off, figure out what cone you're hitting. Ask somebody, which one did I hit?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Unless you heard like crunch. So then you know.
Ka-thunk.
But figure out what cone you're hitting and then replay the run in your head and go, okay, what did I mess up? where I hit that cone? Did I not give my did I mess up the angle on the previous element so I came out behind? So I need to give myself a little bit more space for it, right? And I don't say space is like space in between you and the cone. I'm saying like your angle leaving the previous element will give you more space for the upcoming element. Um, so one, try to figure out what cone it is. If it's just random cones, then you have
You're doing what I said.
yeah, you're doing what Tom said. But if it's if it's a particular cone that you've clipped in your run 1 and run 2, that's what was happening to me. I believe it was Sunday.
What cone was it?
No, it was just a cone that was on the left side of the car. I just kept running over the base of it.
But where was it?
Oh, it was just a sweeper.
Was it like the fourth cone in a slalom, or no?
No,
A
it
cone.
was just the corner had a interesting shape, and I was trying to set up for the next corner. And in the process of setting up for the next corner, I kept running over the cone with my inside rear tire. I
Got
did it
it.
twice. So I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna turn in a little bit later because that's gonna change the angle of my corner. And then the third run, I missed it. So I made a conscious choice of a difference in approach, and that led me to not hitting that cone. That doesn't mean for the whole run everything was changed because besides that one cone I hit, everything else, assumingly, was fine. So I'm not going to change my approach everywhere. I'm just going to change what I'm doing that is leading to a mistake, because it's a mistake when you hit a cone. Unless you're a boss and you hit that thing, it's still in the box, then it was definitely on purpose. But uh, it's a mistake that you need to troubleshoot and figure out what exactly is happening there. And if if you're being a wild man like Mr. Tom O'Gorman over here when he was 18 years old, uh, you need to figure out there's an error in your approach, not an error in your read or your execution on a specific spot in the
Yeah.
course. It's a more overall approach error.
Perfect description. Yep.
Uh,
Good
we,
luck, Mike. Don't hit any more cones.
yeah. We got time for one more. We got one lined up.
Well, let's see. I'm gonna do a quick scan, and
Are you unpinning these as we answer them?
I am, yes. We could do Spicy Cats. It's kind of recent, but it's about autocross versus track. We've been talking about today already.
Okay, you're a
We do
little bit
that?
of a robot, so I'm gonna read it. All right. Spicy Cat Racing writes in. Oh, my phone really Google just activated when I said Spicy Cat Racing. Um, given some of us haven't autocross, but instead started with HPDE and progressed into time trial / wheel to wheel. Wait, we answered this one.
Wait, we did this one. Yep. Sorry,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
bad.
it's fine. Well, guys, that means we've answered all the questions.
Nope, that's not true. It just means we got to look for a different short one.
All right, I'm removing some of the Greg
Ooh,
questions.
wait, I got one. Okay, so am I still a robot?
No, you're good now.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. This is from David Best, longtime friend of the podcast. On a compromised track surface, do you feel that fresh tire is still faster than one with several heat cycles on it? For example, if the track is hot, dirty, and greasy at the end of the day, will a sticker tire still have that little edge, or will the track itself be the limit of what a tire can provide? I'm not
Uh,
a scientist, but I have my thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, my thought is that I don't unless it's a I don't even like sticker Hoosiers. Like I feel like the tire needs to be scrubbed in some capacity. What do you think?
I like stickers, but I also question whether like certain tires, if you just light them as stickers, meaning go drive on them hard right away as stickers and never give them a chance to chill out. I think certain tires hate that. I in my experience, the Falcon has been really bad for that. The 660. I think Hoosiers actually do pretty good with a like scuff and sit.
Yep,
In general, I think everything does well with a scuff and sit.
same.
So I guess I mean that's my first thought. But I think it's track dependent. Like
It is. That's what I was
it's
gonna say.
it's track dependent, but in general, like a sticker tire is gonna be the fastest thing you can get. you can do so. In my mind, I have three thoughts. The best thing to do, blanket statement across no matter what you're doing, go scuff them in and then let them sit for 12 to 24 hours, which means go on the track or go on the road, bring them up to temperature gently, but not overheat them. Don't overexert them, bring them back down and let them sit. So like 2 laps on a racetrack or a 20-minute drive on the road, whatever. And then if you can't do that, stickers are going to be fast. If not, the only tracks I really know of that have like old tire stuff is like Mid Ohio used to be like everybody knew that old spec Miata tires were faster
I,
than new ones
I
or
think Road
something like
Atlanta was the
shit like that.
same.
Yeah, otherwise you're getting into dependent. But I think you can save yourself some effort and like turmoil with that. Like bring them up, bring them down, let them sit, and then go. What do you think?
So I see Miss Jackie in the chat. She said old tires were faster, uh, and I think
At
they're
pit race, yeah.
yeah pit race or like the old surface at Mid Ohio or Road Atlanta. It's very weird. It is kind of track dependent. That being said, new tires um won't be that far off of the faster old tire. And when we say old, we don't mean like beat to crap tires. We just mean like tires with like you know like Hoosier specifically like 6 to 10 heat cycles rather than like fresh.
Junk.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, it's track and tire dependent. Uh. But I think like his question was the conditions of the track, is that going to matter as much as like the tire? And obviously that depends on the tire as well. But when the sun is hitting the track and it's a hot day and it was a cool morning, you're going to have a tough time hitting that lap time. If it was a well executed lap in the morning than you would in the afternoon. Really that should be like, okay, I'm going to scrub in this new set of tires for tomorrow. So you just go out there, do 2-3 laps, you come in, maybe even put the car up on jack stand so it's just sitting there. You can't have the tires crystallize in any specific way. They're just sitting free of gravity. Well they'll have gravity, but you know what I mean. And yeah, they're suspended like Tom is right now. Uh
They're floating.
those tires are floating. You need to send them into outer space, and then when they come back, they'll be perfect. Um, but yeah, I think especially in like a time attack format, you know what? That doesn't really happen too often. I've seen it happen, but it doesn't happen that often in autocross. Like Steel Cities, they'll do the morning runs and then the afternoon runs, and very very rarely are the afternoon runs drastically different times than the morning runs, which is interesting. I think it's like the dusting of the surface and then the heating of the surface like equals out, so like the times are all like the same like throughout the whole day.
Yeah, I wonder if that's why I think of like how iRacing over exaggerates the way that the track like ages and heats and deteriorates
You think it over
like crazy.
exaggerates it because
Well, okay, to your point right there, I think from autocrossing, I've developed this like that's not how that works like mentality because like you can kind of go as fast in the afternoon as you do in the morning on an autocross course,
yeah,
which is where I come from, where you come from. But honestly, I do think the like a racetrack does,
it kind of falls off.
especially certain racetracks like Gingerman,
Yes, definitely
horrible,
Gingerman.
NCM, horrible, Laguna Seca, horrible, Lime Rock, horrible. Like these tracks that just like once they're hot, garbage. They nothing.
VIR wasn't that great when it was hot.
And I think Pitt is getting there. I mean
Yeah.
like I'm sure we could have
Well,
a
I think
whole
it might
contest of
it might depend on like the how dark the surface is as well, right? But Gingerman's pretty light, and
maybe.
that one falls off big time when it gets hot. But
I think it's
also,
more age.
yeah, but also it's like it's going to be dependent on how the corners load and like go into each other, stuff like that as
Correct.
well. So, um,
So in to your point, tire compound is going to matter the most of every regardless. But condition wise, like the condition is going to limit what the tire can do,
I bet
right?
if yeah, I bet if you made like a little like a scatter plot of people's best lap times set at events, I bet a majority of those best lap times would be in either late afternoon if they're running like in the late afternoon or right in the morning when the track is a cooler temperature. And that I would bet my life on it that that's the case.
Yep. So next week, we're going to be sacrificing DJ.
Live on the Lizard Brain podcast. Make sure you join the Discord.
Yeah, but only after we get the science, after doing our own research.
Yeah, somebody's got to do a scatter plot, and it's not going to be me. I'm doing scatter plots for brake pads, not.
Yeah. I got my own stuff to do.
Yeah, I got my own scatter plots to build. So, all right, Tom, I think
that
that's
helps.
I think that's a show.
I agree. I think so. We've had some really good guests in the last couple of weeks. If you guys are enjoying the guests, let us know, because I think we started this podcast because DJ and I wanted to hang out. So we never thought that we would be an interview podcast, but the more we have guests, the more I realize that we don't really interview them. We just like
Hang out.
hang out and have a good time. Yeah. So let us know if that's like a good trend.
Or if there's
'Cause
somebody.
we have a lot of cool contacts in our phones, but
Yeah, or
we
if
wouldn't
there's.
think to contact them until say so. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
exactly. I was gonna say, if there's somebody in particular that you're like, ooh, I really want to see how this person interacts with Tom and DJ, please let us know. And
Yep.
then we'll, if we were like, ooh, that would be maybe an interesting interaction for our audience, then we will reach out to that person and say, we think that you're interesting.
For sure.
So,
What are you doing this weekend?
Tom, we both don't know.
I know, I don't know either. Should we go to Chicago?
There's a test and tune in the at Finger Lakes as well, and that's closer.
All right, so listeners, it's currently Tuesday. If you're listening live, you have a day and a half. If you're listening freshly, you have almost no time to tell us where we should go this weekend. To do anything we could drive.
Should I release the episode early so there's a better chance that we drive something this weekend?
Maybe.
I can't believe like last weekend we were at last weekend I had two-day autocross events, both an hour and a half from our house. One was west and one was east. And then this weekend I can't find anything within 4 hours of my house.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things, but they're just not as fun. They're either small lots or
Yeah,
one-day events or whatever. So if you got like
Yeah.
a home run for us, if you are fully sold on what you're doing this weekend, let us know. Maybe we'll go.
Yep. Please. Need to drive something that, I mean, sim racing's pretty great, but doesn't quite scratch the itch as much as a real car. So,
No.
all right,
But
that's our plans for the weekend. I might
that was the worst. That was the worst one we've ever done.
yeah, I might
What
be
are you doing? I don't know. What are you doing? I don't know. Well, that's it.
So Christine, she's starting a job soon, August 1st. I've already said that. And it's in downtown Cleveland. And one of the weekend days, we're going to take public transit down to downtown Cleveland from our house because there's like a train station that's like a mile away from the house. So
Fun.
we've never done that before, and we're gonna kind of check it out. We're gonna go on a little adventure together and kind of see if public transit will work for Christine to get to work or not. And maybe she doesn't take it all the time, but as an option, maybe because she really doesn't like driving in rush hour traffic, and she will be sitting in rush hour. This might be an option where she's like, cool, I just don't even have to deal with that. So we're gonna go on a little adventure this weekend.
So the episode has come full circle where DJ went from starting the episode with "I need a new daily driver because I keep stealing Christine's car" to ending the episode with "Christine needs a ride to work, but I want a Subaru BRZ."
Turns out I just stole Christine's car. Christine, you should
I
really
love
take
that.
public
But you
transit,
didn't
so
even know
I
you
still
did
have
that.
a
Yeah.
so I still have a Corolla to drive.
Yeah.
Oh no!
I always thought so when I moved to Chicago. I always thought that I would move there, and I would find my ride on the train that I could go to the coolest place, and I would find my grocery store and my coffee shop. And I did none of that. But I hope that you guys do because I feel like that would be super fun to like just I could just get on the train and do this. Sure, why not?
I mean, I live in the suburbs of like Cleveland's probably like a 15-minute drive until I'm like actually in the city.
Mhm.
But we just happen to live. I think it's literally like the last train station that is like that can go to the city. So, uh, it's a resource that might be worth using. So we should check it out.
Well, let us know. Oh, you should do like those videos of that guy that he reacts to trains going by. The British
With-
guy. Do you know
yeah,
what I'm
with
talking
like the
about?
weird GoPro lens, where he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, a train!"
I want to see you with the 360 cameras straight at your face.
Oh, um,
Or Christine, either one.
I may have started a YouTube series.
Okay.
It's called
What is it?
DJ No Quali, and I just pick some iRacing something during the week, and I don't qualify, and I see how far up the grid I can get. Tom, the last episode, I don't want to spoil it, but I'm going to spoil it. I was this close to winning. It was only a 15-minute race. I was less than a tenth behind the guy in first. So close.
What's the art direction?
The what?
What's the creative like angle? Are you
Uh,
like narrating it? Are you just posting raw video?
no, I'm just
'Cause I want to watch that, but I want to watch you react to it.
yeah, I have a webcam. You get to see all the freaking goofy ass faces I make when I'm driving. Tom, I make some freaking weird faces when I'm driving cars. I might turn the webcam off in the future. It's bad, dude. I'm like but I could talk more during it, but I am it's basically like I'm live streaming, but I don't have like an audience watching me. So
Okay.
I'm not interacting with the chat, but I'm like talking about like things that are happening. That's the thumbnail I made in like 5 minutes before I went to bed last night.
I love it.
So
Okay, everyone go look up DJ Allison Drini's YouTube channel. Go watch his DJ No Quali
TG No Quali.
series.
Yep.
Yep. And I think we did it.
I think I like the series name DJ No Quali because it sounds like a actual like a music DJ.
DJ No Quali.
DJ No Quali.
Wait. What's your area code?
44142.
Sorry. What's your before the phone number?
Oh, that's
Area
right.
code.
Yeah, area code. I said zip code. Everyone knows where I live now.
What's your area
It's
code?
440.
Mr. 440.
DJ No Quali.
Okay, love it.
All right, sick. Tom, put an end to
Guys,
it.
last week's ending was so good but so bad. So hey, Simple, I love your hair. And I hope you win.